Hello, everybody. We give a couple seconds for everybody to come into the live. I'm so excited that you guys are here today. And yeah, we're gonna wait a couple minutes for some guests to arrive and we'll get this conversation started. I hope everybody's doing well wherever you are in the world right now. Okay, let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, and welcome. I am truly honored to welcome you to Unfiltered Mental Health in Real Life, a space where we can come together for real, raw, and honest conversations. Today, we invite you to join us for a powerful panel discussion that opens up about what often remains unspoken, the struggles, the silence, and the strength it takes to speak up about youth mental health. This isn't just another event, this is a safe space, a space without judgment where we can talk openly about mental health, share stories, and listen with empathy. You'll hear from student leaders, mental health advocates, and community voices who are stepping forward with courage and vulnerability to share their experiences. We'll also explore practical tools and resources because mental well being isn't just about getting through the tough times, it's about building strength for every day. And most importantly, will be inspired by real stories from young women who are making a difference, showing us what it means to lead with both heart and honesty. Together, let's break the stigma and build support. Let's be real, let's be unfiltered, and most of all, let's be kind to ourselves and to each other. Without further ado, I would like to invite our panelists to the stage. First, we have Ayan McCardo, and I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself and just tell the audience a little bit about yourself. And yeah.
Hey everybody, super excited to be here and speak on this panel. It's well needed. My name is Ayama Cardo. I'm a 21-year-old rising senior majoring in social work. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, and I am also the founder and student advisor of Healing Hornets.
Okay, and our next panelist is Treyana Prince, and I'm going to invite her to the stage now. And yeah.
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's having a good day so far. My name is Triana Prince. I am a rising senior at Delaware State University, majoring in public health with a minor in psychology. I am the current chartering president of the National Society of Black Women in Medicine, and I'm also the vice president of GIVE, which stands for Gracefully Igniting Voices Everywhere. We try to create a safe space for those who are suffering from sexual abuse, domestic abuse, and mental health issues.
Okay, welcome, ladies. I am so glad you are joining us today. And let's get this conversation started. So, first, I wanted to ask you what made you or inspired you to get into mental health and why is mental health important to you? So,
Does
whoever
it
would
matter
like to
which
go
order?
first.
I go.
Uh,
Um, what inspired me to get into mental health? So, as a child, I've always had a great passion for helping people in service. In middle school, I used to do little play therapy things. Didn't Very ironic how that manifested, but I was inspired to get into mental health seriously my freshman year of college. My dad passed away, and it was a very overwhelming amount of grief being away from home, being away from my family, and I didn't necessarily know how to process it. I wasn't in therapy at the time, so it was really just like a ball of raw emotion that I didn't know what to do with. So My dad passing away, it had a really big effect on me. It changed my perspective entirely. And it also actually inspired me to found my mental health organization, Healing Hornets. I just wanted to create that safe space for students on campus to just be, to be able to navigate their mental health journey while being in college, because it can be a struggle. So, yeah.
My story is kind of similar to Ion's. So, when I was little, I always kind of struggled with my mental health, and I think part of it is because I was very hyper aware to what was like going on in the world and within my family, like things that we were struggling with. So that played a part, but I really noticed it that I was really struggling during middle school, and after a while my mom started to notice it too. So then we decided that therapy was the best option. And this was like years down in the line. I didn't start therapy until the beginning of my junior year in high school. Um, from then on, my it was like therapy was good, but I didn't really have a connection with that therapist. So we only lasted like a year until when I was about to start college. Now, after graduating, that summer was like the happiest summer I've ever had, um, until I got to Dell State. My first day of classes, I woke up to a call that my uncle passed away. So he took his own life. So that kind of like impacted my whole college experience. I wasn't eating, wasn't really sleeping, only went to classes that, counted towards attendance. So after that, I was mainly like very alone dealing with my grief. So I was constantly like going back home because I couldn't deal with what was going on with school, wasn't really involved on campus or anything. So my uncle, that whole situation with my uncle kind of pushed me to be more involved because yes, I was like doing therapy, and yes, I was kind of advocating for myself and like my family members to get involved in therapy. But after my uncle passed away, I really got like a calling saying like, hey, I feel like you should be doing more. So
Wow. I'll send my condolences to both of you guys for losing somebody. I have a similar story too. I lost my god sister to suicide back in 2020, and that kind of inspired me to get into mental health. So I like how like we all kind of have similar stories of like how how we turn grief into something to make positive into the world. And yeah, I love that. Um, what are some common misconceptions about mental health you think in our community, specifically like the Black community? Because a lot of times we see Black women and mental health is kind of like, oh, we have to be strong. We can't experience mental health. There's all these different misconceptions about our community. So, what are some misconceptions you think that's like going on in our community right now?
I can go first. So I kind of have like a love-hate relationship with that phrase, strong Black woman. It kind of, for me, kind of like seems like, we have to be strong. Like we can't show any weaknesses. We can't cry or else, that's frowned upon. But one of the misconceptions within my community, I am Caribbean, I'm Jamaican. So and we don't really discuss mental health that much. More so, it's kind of like if there's something going on, everything is straight to prayer. So it's kind of like a pray away kind of situation. And I do feel like having faith is very important, but I also feel like getting help is also contributes to like the outcome. So
Yeah, I definitely agree. Just to piggyback off of Triana, a big misconception for me, like especially when you're talking to like older people or people from past generations, is it doesn't really exist or it's not important. And historically speaking, when we were enslaved and we were working on these plantations, if anybody showed any signs of mental health or mental illness, it was often written off as exhaustion. So like, to have it not taken seriously back then and it's still not taken seriously now, it's like, when are we gonna mend this gap? But that one for sure. Also, the Black men can't cry thing. It contributes heavily to toxic Black households, because if a Black man is not comfortable with showing his emotions, being vulnerable, he's gonna then pass that on to his son, and then it's just gonna repeat. when are we going to break the cycle is the question. So, yeah.
Yes, I agree with both you guys. A lot of times, like you said, like, oh, black men have to be strong, black people have to be strong. And it's like, it really dates back, like you said, to back years ago during like slavery and stuff like that. And is that at one point, it's like, when is it going to stop? Like, slavery been ended, and now we're in 2025, and mental health is still not a priority anymore, or it's like it's not real. Because me growing up, like, I was told that mental health is something that's like not real, or only adults experience real things in life. Like, if we're in like middle school, high school, we don't experience real things, like we're not going through things. But at the end of the day, it really starts like with the younger generation, because it's literally elementary kids taking their own lives, and people are saying, oh, they're not really going through things, but in reality that they are, and we're just ignoring them. So that's something that we need to break the cycle and have these type of conversations with the younger generation and with the older generation, to let them know that, hey, like, we go through problems too. How can we create safe spaces where people feel comfortable talking about their mental health?
I can go. So, um, I'll definitely say it's good to say, it's going to be okay, it's going to get better, but toxic positivity, like, wait, okay, I'm sorry. Repeat the question one more time. I was about
How
to get
can we create, you're good. How can we create safe spaces where people feel comfortable talking about their mental health?
Got you. Thank you. So, definitely lessening the toxic positivity. As we all know, like things, tribulations, like those rough patches, they do pass. And it's nice to hear it, but when it becomes consistent and that's the only thing that you're hearing when you're going through a tough time, it's kind of like, that, and definitely just practicing reflective listening. Like when someone's talking, expressing their feelings, letting you know how they feel or whatever they're going through, actually listening to them, paraphrasing what they're saying and repeating it back to them. It's reassurance that you're actually hearing what they're saying. And a lot of times when people are going through tough times, they really just want somebody to listen to them. So being that open ear and just non-judgmental and just a safe space for that person. Yeah.
I definitely agree with Ion. Safe spaces, we can create safe spaces by being empathetic, and listening, validating their feelings, being non-judgmental. Like if someone comes to you and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed. Instead of being like, what do you have to be stressed for? Like actually listen to them, feel what they're going through. Also, what we're doing right now, I think we're kind of like sort of creating a safe space to those that are listening. Letting them know like, hey, some of us might be struggling with the same things that you're struggling with, and it's okay, and it does get better.
Yes, I definitely agree. Having these type of conversations, I feel like, will help bridge the gap between this and allow people to actually speak about their problems. And active listening is very important. Like, people think, oh, when we have a conversation with people, or we're just like, oh, okay, or like just having dry responses, but actively listening, and like Ayan said, like repeating back what you're actually hearing is important, and actually makes a difference. It shows that you're actually hearing that person. You're not just ignoring them, because we just be like, huh, okay, like, that's just not engaging, and it shows that you don't really care. And if we show that we care and be active listeners, that can actually make a difference in the world. So thank you both for your responses so far. Loving them. What are the biggest barriers people face in accessing mental health care, do you believe?
You want to go? Very good.
I think one of the biggest barriers is definitely the cost. Therapy is very expensive. Luckily, like I have insurance that covers the cost of therapy, but not everyone has access to insurance, or everyone's insurance doesn't cover the full cost, or like, so I definitely think cost is definitely one of the barriers that people face when addressing mental health.
I definitely agree. I'm gonna also say representation. Like it's kind of hard to get into therapy and to actually be fully indulged in it when you don't feel like you can relate to your therapist. It's hard to be vulnerable when you don't feel like the person sitting across from you that's supposed to be helping you has not experienced similar tribulations to you. So yeah. And the cost, child. Especially, you know.
Yeah, things are.
Piggybacking off of what Ion said, definitely like representation. So my first therapist in high school, it was an older white lady, and I felt like she was just kind of just listening. And one of the things is I'm very hyper aware when it comes to my situation. So like I know what I'm doing wrong, and I know what I can do to be better, but sometimes it just doesn't work like that for me. So my first therapist, we lasted a year. It was the older white lady, and then my second therapist I got at Dell State. Actually, I used their counseling services. Her name is Miss Yvonne. She is a Black woman. And then after that, my sophomore year of college, I gained a new therapist when I actually, became diagnosed with what I was struggling with. And he's actually a white male, but he's on the younger side, and we kind of like relate more compared to like all the other therapists that I've had. So like everyone, if you're thinking of doing therapy and you're kind of scared of not connecting, it's okay to not connect with someone. And it's also okay to let them know, like, hey, I don't think this is working out. Maybe I should find another therapist. Like, always advocate for yourself.
Yes. And I definitely want to piggyback. It's okay to not connect and it's okay to try again. Like you're not gonna meet it's not impossible, but people often rule out therapy after one bad experience and it's just like trying again, you know?
So, do you guys? I know a lot of people don't want to like major in something related to like therapy and everything, and a lot of times, especially in our community, I feel like therapy is not very much appreciated or spoken upon in our community. So, how do you think it could be better encouraged in our community?
I think what we're doing now, like speaking about it, for me, I know that therapy is kind of something I want to continue throughout my life, whether or not I'm feeling like, hey, I feel like I'm doing better. It's something I want to like continue doing and be consistent. And honestly, like if I, am blessed with like kids and a family in the future, I also kind of want us to go through therapy. I feel like therapy, there's a misconception like there has to be something wrong with you to go to therapy, and that's not always the case, you know? So,
I definitely agree. And I want to say like integrating art, like culturally, black people, we like it's in our like I'm sorry. I just get overwhelmed with this, but we our roots, like if we go back to our roots, like we thrive with art. That's a lot of times how we communicate when you see a lot of black artists, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like visual, like art's represented in many different ways, like just integrating those different forms of therapy, because I know traditional does not work for everybody. So like getting into music therapy, sound waves, it's a lot of things that can be done. I'm sorry. Let me just leave it there for now.
Yes, it's so much things that can be done, but doesn't get done. And I feel like the time is now to really start because we're in 2025 and all these things that's going on in the world, we need to have a safe space where we can actually talk about these issues. Like it's just so much going on, like with the news and everything, like what's world, what it's coming to, and it's like this is a lot. There could be a lot on us mentally, for everybody mentally, and we need to utilize our resources like therapy to really get through our problems and really let all that stress out. Especially like all of us are college students, like we have midterms, finals, all this work, and that at that time it gets stressful, which I'm glad that like Delaware State has counseling services for those who are stressing. It doesn't even have to be people who are stressing, like just having that space of counseling services so that people can use them but they're not being utilized. And because me, I did not know we had counseling services until maybe like a couple months ago because it's not talked about. So I feel like having this conversation, talking about how good therapy is, will definitely help people utilize the resource they have in therapy. What are some practical steps someone can take when they realize that they need help?
I definitely think acknowledging that you need help is definitely the first step. Um, a lot of people are like stuck in denial with like what they're going through. So acknowledging that you need help is the first step. Also, speaking to someone that you trust is also the next step. A friend, a mentor, a parent, guardian, whoever you feel like the most comfortable with. And like like also like the therapist. So that's the steps.
I definitely agree. Acknowledging is extremely important. It is the first step. And talking to somebody that you trust. I'll say if you don't have access to therapy, like trying out different therapeutic techniques at home, like maybe journaling, maybe try to move around your body, do some yoga, poetry. It's different therapeutic forms that you can do at home. I mean, forms of therapy that you can do at home.
Also, meditation is a very good one to clear your mind. That's I used to in high school, I took I think Spanish 3 and every I think 5 to 10 minutes like at the beginning of the period or beginning of the class time, my teacher he would always have us meditate just to clear our minds and get ready for the class. So I think that's also a very good thing to do.
Yes. How, say, like a person is, they need help, but they're not at the point where they can acknowledge it. What would you say that person can do?
That's kind of a hard one. I do think acknowledging it is a really big step, but if they're not ready, I would probably say like be very cautious of their experiences where they're going because they might be around areas or people or things that might trigger them, that might make like how they feel worse, and it kind of might be out like in a downright spiral. But I definitely do think acknowledging it is really the big step in the first step.
I agree. Definitely acknowledging, but before you acknowledge, you have to really do some reflection. And I know a lot of times it comes over time, but really sitting and being completely honest with yourself, like taking yourself out of your shoes and viewing yourself from a different perspective and reflecting is important as well.
I like that. Um, how do we bridge the communication gap between youth and adults on mental health issues? And are there any signs for parents or like educators that they can look for when a young person is struggling mentally? You believe?
Um, I can go first. So, like with the signs, I would say definitely check on those who are very like quiet and tend to isolate themselves. I used to do that a lot when I was younger, or sometimes I still do, honestly. And I think that was kind of like the first sign to other people that, hey, like she's not okay. But like with bridging the gap is you start by creating a safe environment. So like where they younger people feel that being honest, like they feel safe. There's no fear of like a punishment or like backlash when speaking about how they feel. And then like when it comes to adults, making sure they have an open mind, that they don't take anything personally, because that's also something that I was afraid of, letting like my family know that I wasn't doing well. I felt like, my mom would take it personal. Like, what is it that she's doing or not doing that's making me feel this way? So I feel like definitely adults going in with an open mind is one of the most important things.
I definitely agree. To piggyback, coming in with the open mind and creating that safe space, yes. And also having things like this, like open discussions. I seen in the chat where a lot of people that were, a bit older than us. No shade. I'm not saying that y'all old, but we're different generations. So y'all being present and us being able to have this open and honest conversation is extremely important to the growth of the mending of our generations. Um, Also, for the second part of the question, definitely what Triana said. The withdrawn, quiet, pay attention to those, because a lot of the times it's either we go inward or we go outward. So it's the withdrawn or it's the constant outburst tantrums, just rah. Because at the end of the day, when children don't know what to do with their emotions, a lot of times they're suppressed, and suppressed emotions have to come out. So they come out in the form of the tantrums, in the form of the constant rage and just ball of anger, or quiet, withdrawn, not really anti. Yeah.
Okay. I want to ask, based on your, because you both have similar stories with mental health. So, what were your steps in realizing, like, getting help and getting to a point where you just felt like you wasn't okay and acknowledging that you wasn't okay? What were your process and the steps that you took to get to where you are now?
So for me, like I kind of knew for a long time. So like I acknowledged it for a while and I just kind of had like it sitting like, hey, like you're not okay. But there wasn't an action taken until something happened that kind of triggered me. And then it kind of was like a down spiral from there. And everyone started to notice like, hey, like, are you doing okay? Like, this is not you. And it kind of felt like one, it was frustrating for them to like notice it now because it was something that I was dealing with for a long time. But once everyone else started noticing it, I kind of felt a little bit more comfortable to express how I was feeling. So once I did that, I talked to my mom like, hey, I think, therapy might be the next step for me. Like I might need to speak to someone professional to see like what I'm going through. And then that's what I did. So
Yes, 100%. We live in the same life. It's very identical. But I knew I wasn't okay for a while as well. Like high school is when I really started to, okay, so I'm a little off. But I continued to ignore it because I could handle it. It was manageable. But like Triana said, the trigger, my dad passing away, everything else was out the window. So yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like you guys sharing your experiences with mental health would definitely give people the courage to speak up about it and really do that self reflection to realize that they might not be okay. Because we all have similar stories. Like for me, it was really seeing, like, experiencing my god sister committing suicide for me to realize that mental health is actually a real thing. So it's sometimes it takes those experiences, sadly, to really think about the things that we don't really talk about, which is mental health. So, um, as mental health advocates, how do you take care of your own personal mental health? Like things that you do, anything?
I have like good and like bad things that I kind of do. So when we were saying earlier, like isolation, I would say that's a line between good and bad. Sometimes, like when I'm really going through it, I isolate myself to ground myself because I feel like that is like also another time to like reflect. I also, meditate, I journal, I have, I speak with my therapist weekly or bi-weekly. So I think that's very important. Also, like creating a safe space for yourself, like safe environment. So for me, my safe space is my room. So like that's where I am most of the time. Um, that's where like I deal with everything. I reflect about, what I'm going through. I'll journal in my room, I meditate in my room. So yeah.
Yes, 100%. I definitely I see what you mean by the fine line between the good and bad with isolation, because sometimes I be a bit too withdrawn, but it does definitely help to ground me. I'll say like I live in Baltimore, like I said earlier, so there's a lot of nice spots by lakes. I like to go sit by the water, regroup my thoughts. I love to paint with some music on. Um, I like to journal. I meditate. I've strayed away from it. I probably need to get back into it. That's probably, the problem. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, I like
Also,
those ideas.
music is also a big thing also. So like listening to music really does ground me.
Yes, I feel the same way. Music definitely is therapy. Just me, I sit in my room and I would just turn on like some like nice chill vibes, like like little Brent, little P&D, just a little bit, and just vibe in my room and just get to that safe space and that like kind of like meditating a little bit, just to give me a chance to like breathe and just take everything in and just to calm down and everything. And I'm starting to actually like going on like walks and stuff in nature. I don't know what it is about nature, but nature be calming for me. So that definitely, I agree with you with that one. Like sitting by a lake, like I wish we had like that in Jersey, but we don't. But yeah, I definitely like both you guys' ideas. Definitely gonna take that into account. Um, how do we support someone who's going through a mental health crisis without taking on that role of, like kind of like that therapist role, like, oh, you're not okay, like, just coming at them.
I think listening is a big thing, being present, letting them know that they're not alone. Also, trying not to fix their problems because sometimes they don't want to hear advice all the time. Like, I know for me, when I'm going through stuff and I'm venting, I don't want you to, like, most of the time, I really don't want you to tell me what I can do to make it right. I just want you to be there and listen. So definitely like being present, listening, letting them know that, getting help is an option, but don't push them and make them feel like, overwhelmed or it's something that they have to do. Um, but yeah, definitely active listening.
I agree. Definitely the active listening part. Um, Pointing them in the direction of resources, but not necessarily forcing it on them. Because a lot of times when we push things, well, not necessarily push things on people, or like it's a way that you can advise somebody to get help without like being too pushy. Also like trying to getting them to try like new things, like maybe breathing techniques if they're having a really bad moment, or like, yeah, basically I agree with everything you're trying.
Okay. And our last and final question is, how can we make mental health services more affordable and culturally relevant?
I kind of touched on this earlier, but definitely integrating like different forms of therapy, holistic healing, art therapy, music therapy, like integrating that into regular therapy services would be a big help. Because like with us, with our community, like our voice was stripped for so long, so art a lot of times was our only outlet. Like, and we see that a lot in present day reality. But to make it more affordable, um connecting people with resources like this isn't therapy, but I'm sure it probably opened up some people's eyes and ears to their situation and how to get help. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I agree with Ion. I think a lot of community-led programs could definitely be helpful. Things that we're doing right now, like this virtual stream, this live stream, is definitely helpful. I think that having like acknowledging mental health within the school community is also a big thing. Not just college. I feel like, with you touching on how some elementary school kids, a lot of them suffer bullying at that. Like it usually starts there, and then a lot of them are taking their life. So I think definitely educating those on mental health within the school system, elementary school, middle school, high school, college. Like it shouldn't just be, we have a school counselor or a counselor on campus for the college students, but I feel like everyone should have access to that. So
Do you guys have any advice for our listeners about mental health or just anything you'd like to say to them? Anything? Okay. So I like to thank you girls for young women for attending the live today. I definitely appreciate it. Oh, we have a question. How can you get your teen to agree to therapy? Whoever wants to take that question, or you both guys can answer.
um, I think bringing up the idea is very important. If therapy is something that they're like completely against, I wouldn't say push it on them. I think them, if they don't want to have a therapist, if they don't want to do therapy, maybe let them know like, hey, speak to someone, a trusted adult that you know that you feel comfortable with, someone you think is your safe space, or introduce them to other ways to express how they're feeling. Like Ion said, you know, like the art, music, painting, things like that.
I definitely agree. At that age, I'm not sure the age that you're referring to, but I know as a teenager, like when anything was forced on me by my parents, opposite direction. So it's all about how you say it, like, and how you address it. Hey, I've noticed that you haven't been into, maybe they play sports. I noticed you haven't been, into what you're usually into. Like, is there anything wrong? You can talk to me or I can get you help. Like, it's about how you address situations because if they feel forced to do it, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to want to do it. So, yeah.
Okay. We have
Okay.
another question.
Yes, I seen this earlier. Um, the
Okay.
toxic positivity thing. Okay, let me Google this so I can give you a very accurate definition.
Okay.
Okay. Toxic positivity is the belief that people should maintain a positive mindset even when facing difficult or distressing situations, often to the point of suppressing or dismissing negative emotions. So, like with me, when I use the term toxic positivity, it's similar to this, like being dismissive, like saying it's okay is great to hear. Like it can be motivation, but constantly hearing it is kind of like, okay, it's pushing the feelings under the rug or like straying away from them, if that makes sense. I didn't see the second question. I'm sorry.
You're totally good. The second question was, what would you say to a young adult that needs therapy but does not have the means or the will to do so?
In terms of the means, do you mean like financially? But like within the will, we kind of touched on that with the last question. Um, I do think that, you know, talking to them about things like Ion said, talking to them about things that, you know, they are once interested in, but you see that they're straying away from. I think bringing up the topic like um like slowly, you know, calmly, trying not to force things on them. It kind of depends on like the situation and how bad they're kind of struggling. If you feel like, you know, something that you need to interfere, um, there's like certain things that you can do. But I would just say bring it up, but try not to make it like such a big deal where they kind of feel like afraid or like they kind of draw back from you.
I agree.
Okay. So I don't think we have any more questions. Okay, I think we're good. Again, ladies, thank you so much for attending today. I definitely appreciate it. Um, So, as we come to the close of Unfiltered Mental Health in Real Life, I want to take the moment to thank each and every one of you for showing up, for listening with open hearts, and for being part of this brave conversation. Today, we heard powerful stories of pain, of resilience, of honesty, and of hope. These voices reminded us that mental health is not a solo journey, it's a collective one. And when we create spaces like this, spaces that are real, raw, and unfiltered, we make it safer for others to speak up too. To our panelists and speakers, thank you for your courage. Your vulnerability is not only powerful, it is transformative. And to everyone here, whether you spoke today or simply sat with us in silence, your presence mattered. You helped build this safe space, one rooted in empathy, respect, and support. Remember, this doesn't have to end here. The conversation continues in our homes, in our schools, in our communities, and most importantly, within ourselves. I have an announcement. So save the date. Blessed Girls is having our sneaker ball in October 11th on Saturday. And we will hope to see you guys there. More information coming soon. And you can find this information on our social media. This is our social media platforms. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, Blessed Girls TV on YouTube, and also we have a podcast as well, the Mad Podcast. Make sure you tune in on YouTube as well. So as we leave today, let's carry this spirit forward. Let's check in on our friends. Let's ask for help when we need it. Let's normalize the hard conversations. Let's keep breaking the stigma one real moment at a time. Let's be real. Let's be unfiltered. And always, let's be kind. Thank you all so much for being here. Take care of yourselves and each other. And we'll see y'all on the next conversation. Thank you, guys.